Jullie rotsen imre fi. We hegyo nibile van euch adonoi. Tsuri v'goyali. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Welcome everyone to this profound journey into the Haftarah for Parshat Korach, the Haftarah Torah portion of Korach. This week we turn our attention to the ancient texts of the book of Shmuel Aleph, Samuel 1. And we witness a massive and deeply uncomfortable change in the history of the nation. The text places us right in the middle of a huge national gathering at Gilgal. The great prophet Shmuel, Samuel, stands before the people. He is old, and he has led the nation with total, flawless honesty all his life, his entire life. Yet, the people have demanded a change. They have looked around. They've looked around at the surrounding nations, and they have demanded a physical human king. They wanted a normal military, a standard tax system, and a predictable, everyday structure of leadership. They've just crowned Saul as their first king. On the surface, it looks like a day of celebration of national unity. But unfortunately, the reality is completely different. Shmuel, Samuel, delivers a heavy, piercing rebuke. He proves his own total innocence, and then he declares that their demand for a physical king was a direct rejection of God's absolute rule. If we look at the basic narrative, we must understand the deep psychological link between this Haftarah and our weekly reading of Parshat Korach. In the weekly portion of Parshat Korach leads a bitter, cynical rebellion against the divine order set up by Moses. Korach argues that everyone is equal, claiming that the entire group is holy and therefore they do not need an elevated spiritual leader. Centuries later, the nation standing before Shmuel, before Samuel, is making a very clever but identical spiritual mistake. They are rejecting the pure prophetic leadership of Shmuel, of Samuel, because it requires absolute, terrifying faith. A prophet has no standing army. He has no royal bank account. He relies entirely on the unseen, unpredictable, miraculous help of heaven. The people simply could not handle it anymore. They wanted a system they could measure. They wanted a system they could control. But the big secret of this, and this is a revelation that completely changes our understanding of human nature, lies far beyond ancient politics. When we look at this massive shift through the lens of the upper worlds, we are watching a tragic clash between two completely different types of divine energy. The understanding of this deep truth, for this we must explore a profound mechanism known as Or Pnimi, inner light, and or makif, the surrounding light. In the spiritual mechanics of the universe, divine energy comes to us in two distinct forms. And we must understand the difference to see how our worlds work. Inner light, or pnimi, is the exact measurable amount of divine energy that our physical minds can easily process, logically understand, and comfortably absorb. It fits perfectly into our sort of limited brains. Surrounding light, or makif, however, is the overwhelming, infinite energy that hovers above us. It is simply too vast, too powerful to fit into our human logic. It acts as an absolute protective force, but it demands a total blind trust, because we can not control or predict it. Now let us look back at the intense standoff at Gilgal. The leadership of Shmuel, the true prophet, was a direct showing of this Or Makif, of this surrounding light. When the nation was attacked, they did not rely on physical wars. They relied on pure miracles. The divine presence hovered over them, completely free from the normal laws of nature and free from standard military plans. But surrounding light is naturally terrifying to the human ego. The human mind desperately wants certainty. It wants a clear spreadsheet. It wants a physical king sitting on a physical throne with a normal, predictable army. The nation standing before the prophet gave into this spiritual panic. They begged to shrink the infinite surrounding light into a small, safe inner light. They wanted the Or Pnimi, the inner light. They wanted a king who operates strictly within the normal rules of the natural world. In doing so, they essentially told the Creator that his raw, powerful presence was simply too much for them to handle. They demanded a filter. They demanded a physical container that would lower the spiritual voltage. Samuel, sees this profound tragedy. He sees that they have traded the infinite for the finite. And so, to prove to them the sheer size of their spiritual mistake, he does something incredible. He pulls down this overwhelming, surrounding light right in front of their eyes, tearing right through the illusion of the natural world. He says to the nation, Haloi k'tzir chitim, hayoim ekro al Hashem, ve'yitein koiloi sumoto. Is it not wheat harvest today? He says, I will call unto the Lord that he may send thunder and rain. This incredible moment is found in Shmuel Aleph, Samuel 12:17. You see, in the land of Israel, rain during the summer wheat harvest is completely unheard of. It simply does not happen. Furthermore, it is deeply damaging to the crops. By bringing down violent thunder and rain in the peak of the dry summer, the prophet was forcefully breaking the natural order. He was showing them a pure, unfiltered flash of Or Makif, of surrounding light. He was demonstrating that the natural world, the physical armies and the human kings they so desperately wanted are just fragile illusions. The true reality, the real power, sits above any boundaries of nature and logic. When the thunder crashed and the unseasonal rain poured down, the people were literally terrified. They suddenly realized the immense blinding power they had just rejected in favor of a normal man sitting on a throne. This ancient standoff teaches us a vital, everyday principle about our own internal lives. We all carry the exact same psychological fear within us. We all desperately try to shrink our vast, infinite potential into small, predictable, controllable boxes. We constantly reject the terrifying unknown of absolute faith because we want to see the exact plan. We demand our own physical kings, our own rigid schedules, our own financial walls, because we are too afraid to stand under the vast, unpredictable canopy of divine care. We've just unpacked a deeply profound spiritual concept, but the true, real work is not just holding these ideas in our heads. The true work is taking these precise mechanics and anchoring them firmly into our reality of our everyday lives. So here is our real-world challenge. This is how we bring the heavens down to earth for this week. We are going to focus on a highly deliberate application of Tikkun Hamidot, rectification of character traits. This week you must identify a specific high-stress area in your life, where you're obsessively and perhaps anxiously trying to control every single detail. A situation where you're constantly planning, constantly worrying, and refusing to allow any space for the unknown. Your challenge is to deliberately and consciously let go of that specific illusion of control. When the anxiety hits, when the urge to forcefully manage the outcome, you must completely stop. Do not send the extra email. Do not check the numbers for the 5th time. Step back and consciously leave an empty space. As you perform this specific and very difficult act of holding back, you must hold the conscious awareness that you are not just relaxing your mind. It's not about a relaxation. It is about a realization that you realize in that very exact moment that you are actively making room for Or Makif, the surrounding light. You are breaking down your rigid physical walls to allow the higher, uncontainable divine presence to step into your daily life on its own beneficial terms. Lock that internal release in for the week, because small, deliberate acts of letting go may build massive, enduring spiritual realities. If the concepts we explore regarding the fear of the surrounding lights and our needs for physical control were deeply revealing to you, wait until next week. We unveil the secrets of absolute purification and the paradox of spiritual logic in the Haftarah of the Torah portion, Chukat. For now, I hope you immensely enjoyed this lesson and tune in for more next week, Bezrat Hashem. Thank you for joining me. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you next week, Bezrat Hashem. All the very best, and wishing you really all the very best luck for this coming week. Bye for now.